Hi Juicers, and welcome to Creative Juice Pinterest 101 for creative businesses. This is going to be a several part video series where I will be going over the content that I do in Pinterest 101. So if you need to pause and think more carefully or listen more carefully to it, this should be an easy way for you to get the content and play it when you need it or when you're working on it. Today we're going to talk about Pinterest, of course, because it's Pinterest 101. So our goal is specifically going to be how to learn how to use Pinterest to promote your creative business. Pinterest can be a great personal tool to use, but today we're going to be going over how it can promote your creative business. So in the series, we're going to learn first, part one is the Pinterest basics. Who's on it, what's it for. Part two will be how to optimize your Pinterest account for action. It's not just a matter of being on Pinterest that will bring people to you. There are certain factors that you can do that will increase your chances of being seen and also make it more fun and usable for you. And then the third part, we're going to go through how to make and post the most pinnable content. Obviously, you want to be doing your Pinterest account as best as you can, and there's some tips and tricks to that as well. So if you don't know me, this is a little quick intro on who I am. I'm Margot Madison, and I own More Creative Juice and Creative Juice, the meetup for creative entrepreneurs. This is my family. I've got 3 kids and a husband. Both my husband and I are entrepreneurs, so we are very, very, very well versed in the pains and joys of having your own business. I started out as a graphic designer. I worked in the corporate world, and then I started specializing in custom invitations, and then also ended up owning a retail store for 7 years. That's a picture of it there. I also added to that retail store a wholesale aspect of my stationery business, so I'm familiar with the wholesale side of businesses, going to conventions, selling to other retail shops. And then in 2010, I closed the retail store and started focusing only on my online sales. So I shifted my whole business model to an online model, and that's when I really ramped up blogging, and I sold my invitations on my Etsy store, so I'm very familiar with the online milieu. And then in 2010, I also started attending a fantastic group of creative entrepreneurs, and that eventually, it started out as Creative Juice, and it eventually turned into what it is today, which is a huge support system for entrepreneurs and specifically creative entrepreneurs. That's called More Creative Juice. But let's get into Pinterest. Let's talk about the top 5 reasons creatives don't use Pinterest, and some of these may relate to you. One is that some creatives just don't know what Pinterest is or what it's really about and why they would want to use it or why anybody wants to use it. Number 2 is they may not be sure how Pinterest would fit into their business. So you may be using Pinterest personally, but you really aren't aware of the value that it can add to bringing new customers to your business. 3, if you're pinning, it's not leading to your personal sales or any more engagement. 4, you might not know what to pin or what to bring in the pin, or you might not know how to pin. And 5, which is pretty common too, that you pin infrequently and randomly. And unfortunately, in the world of social media, inconsistency is not your friend. You definitely want to be consistent, and that's a tough thing to do. So we're going to learn a little bit more about how you can do all of those things. But first, let's make sure you know that you feel strongly about how great Pinterest can be for your business. For instance, there are over 2 billion searches on Pinterest every month. That is a lot of searches, and that is every month. And I don't know if you've noticed, but sometimes when you will Google, or like when I Google, if I'm researching a topic, I'll end up seeing a lot of Pinterest posts right up there with the other blog posts. So Pinterest is a big factor in search engine discovery. Pinterest is responsible for 5% of all internet referral traffic. We have several businesses who get their primary referrals from their Pinterest posts. So in other words, Pinterest guides new users to their website rather than the other way around. They wouldn't find their website if it wasn't for Pinterest. 87% of Pinterest users have made a purchase after finding a product they liked on Pinterest, and this is new for some people, and especially people who feel awkward about sales, that they feel that they don't want to be too salesy with their business, which number one, you really do need to get over. But also, Pinterest is a place where people are actually looking for products. It's a research tool, and it's a research tool that they trust, that has a higher level of interest and quality. And if you are offering a product or a service that has a higher level of quality, you definitely want to be seen on Pinterest, and people will find you, and that will close that gap from unfamiliarity to familiarity and then to eventual purchasing. And this is really amazing about Pinterest, because this is really, really what sets it aside from other social media avenues, which tend to be very ephemeral. You might post something once and it might last 20 minutes, like on Twitter, or it might last 2 hours, as it might on Instagram. It might last a day on Facebook. But truly, a pinned image can last over 1,000 times longer than an image shared on social media. And an example of that is that I have a couple of invitation images that I pinned from my blog onto Pinterest years ago, and they're still cycling around as some of my top pinned images. So you can really get a lot of longevity with Pinterest, and that's a big bonus. So the next video, we're going to start talking about Pinterest basics. We'll see you then.